Hello all. So I'm on the page of the Google Classroom that I have created for you guys, specifically for your group, 2021 STC group, right? So basically, what I want you to do is, first of all, you need to become a student of this class, right? So this is the teacher view that you're seeing, right? So this is through my personal Gmail account, right? So you would have received this class code by now. And so what you have to do is you have to copy this class code and go to your Google Classroom. I presume you have some kind of a Google Classroom, right? If not, simply, sign into a Gmail, search for Google Classroom, and then simply join as a student, right? So you have two options. You can either join in as a student, which is this link, or as a university lecturer, if you are creating a class for students, undergrads or postgrad students, this is where you have to go, right? So right now you're joining as a student in my class, so this is where you need to go. Click on join class, right? So by the way, this is my daughter's account, right? So I had to I mean, I can't become a student of my own class, right? Because I'm the teacher, right? So I have to have another account, right? So my daughter's account, right? So that's where you paste uh, the class code, right? And then you click on join, right? And you should see this view, right? Which is the student view, right? So you have here, the classwork, the same stuff you saw, and then people. Right now, there's nobody but myself, right? The teacher and my daughter, I suppose. Don't know why you can't see her, right? But once you guys have signed up, I suppose all of you guys will be seen here as students, right? Right. So right now this has two exercises and six sections or modules or whatever you call them, right? So this particular video will be under this module, overview, right? It will go in here. You can open this up anytime and this video will be there. Right now it's not there because I'm still recording that video. But once I finish recording, I will upload it onto this, right? So this is where I want you to start. Number two, right? So first go through this overview and learn what you need to do, right? Basically, you have to go from 1 to 6, right? And this particular overview will guide you through that, right? So first go to number 1, overview, and then watch this and follow these instructions. I want you to start with this module, which is flipped classroom, and I'm going to right click on it. It looks like that option is not there, right? So I have to left click. Alternatively, I can copy link, open a new tab, and open that class also, right? So I click on the learning material, right? So you can go through the learning material on this window itself. You can maximize it, or you can go to YouTube, right? And watch it as well, right? So watch this, right, from A to Z, and then I want you to go to number 3, so, right? Overview, flip classroom video lecture, and then exercise number 1, right? So on exercise number 1, right, you need to finish this by midnight Thursday before we meet live on Friday 7th, right? So that's the whole concept of the flipped classroom, right? So you do this exercise before we have the live discussion, right? So at 6:59 p.m. it will expire, and meaning you cannot upload anymore, right? So I expect you to upload the answers before midnight of May 6th. right? Um, right, right. So once you've done that, right, so that would be number three. So it would be an exercise that looks something like this, right? So basically, so there are 100 statements here, right? 100 statements from 1 to 100, right? So what I want you to do is to categorize each of these statements a- as to whether they belong to conventional lecture or flipped classroom. For example, is a traditional teaching methodology, conventional, is a modern teaching methodology, flipped classroom, and so on. So go through these 100 point statements, and by the time you are done with those 100 statements, right, you will have a fairly good understanding of the concept of flipped classroom. So you can even try to go through this without going through the video lecture, right? But then the chances are you might make some, mistakes, right? But that doesn't matter, right? The point here is not to get this 100% right, but the point here is to encourage students to synthesize knowledge or to construct knowledge, right? So that is one of the fundamental differences between conventional lecturing and flipped classroom. Conventional lecturing, we instruct, right? Whereas with flipped classroom, we encourage construction of knowledge or synthesis of knowledge versus instruction of the conventional classroom, right? So all those you can learn about on this video, right? And once you do that, right, so once you do that, I want you to attempt these 100 questions, right? So you like I said, you're welcome to attempt these questions prior to listening to this or prior to watching this, right? So if you do that, after you finish watching this, come back to the exercise and see what you got wrong and correct them. Okay, right. Right, so that is number three, right? So that is the first exercise. Oops, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never been a student of Google Classroom. Right, there you go. Right, so you do the overview, which is this video you are watching right now. Then you watch the video lecture. Then you do exercise one and upload it onto Google Classroom before midnight, uh, Thursday, right? 6th May. Remember, we will meet on 7th May, and you upload it prior to our meeting, online virtual meeting or in virtual meeting, I suppose, right? So that is the fundamental, that is a fundamental of the flipped classroom, right? Right. And then I want you to, so then, as a lecturer, right? So as a lecturer, if you choose to conduct lectures via flipped classroom, which is of utmost importance given the present situation related to COVID-19, right? So then you have to make a video lecture like I did here, right? And then you will need to know about, screen recording, how to record a lecture, how to record so there are two options I've given here. You can record using screencast, right? So right now I'm recording using screencast. I presume you can see the screencast logo somewhere around here, right? So with the free software you can record up to 15 minutes, right? And if you do that, then you'll have to merge these different 15-minute segments into a single video, right? And then so that is one option. The second option is you can record your lecture, you can narrate and record your lecture using PowerPoint, right? So either way, you would have noticed that all of these are YouTube videos, right? So meaning once I finish recording the video, I upload it onto YouTube, right? So it's not a big deal. It's really simple. Nowadays you guys are new generation guys, not like us old generation. තට්ට පැදිච්ච lecturers, right? So you should be able to figure this out. You should be able to give me a copy on how to do this kind of thing. Facebook and Instagram and all those whatnot, right? So I've given four bonus videos that as I call them, right? On how to record your and narrate and record your PowerPoint lecture using either screencast, free software, or PowerPoint, and then also two more on how to trim videos, right? Because sometimes you say unnecessary things, right? Or you think you did too slow and you want to redo it a little fast, right? So then you want to be able to trim and merge videos, editing basically, right? So these are very short videos, say 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 minutes, right? So go through this, right? Go through this, and then I want you to, so that is number four. Number five, exercise number two, which is, I'm sorry. So right. So I eventually want you to do your own flipped classroom, right? I want you to do your own flipped classroom in in your in a field of your expertise, right? In a field of your expertise. Right? So before you do that, you're welcome to look at number five, which is an example of how I do it, right? So my speciality, other than flipped class, teaching people how to teach using flipped classroom, my speciality is dairy cattle management, right? Dairy cattle management for veterinarians, for third year BVSc students, a Bachelor of Veterinary Science students, right? So I had to teach all of this, the whole course, using flipped classroom, given the COVID-19 related pandemic situation. So this is how I would do it. I of course have the YouTube video, right? I of course have the YouTube video and I upload it onto upload it onto YouTube, right? Once I narrate my PowerPoint, and then one of the very important things is, so I do include the a PDF of the presentations as well, right? You can either include the PowerPoint or the PDF, right, of the presentation. But the most important part is, I think, I don't know if most important is correct, but one of the most important components of this is these questions, what I call pre-lecture test or pre-lecture questions, right? So for every lecture, I include 30 to 40 questions. So here there are 40 questions altogether, right? So they are very simple questions, right? They're not complicated, right? So then before each lecture, I emphasize this, right? I ask them to spend about 2 minutes per question to try to synthesize or construct answers. Right? So I tell them this is different to the traditional mode of teaching where students are given instruction, right? So here now I'm not giving you any instructions. You have to self-learn and you have to construct knowledge. You have to synthesize answers. You see the difference, right? So I've given them a little thing here on Einstein as well, something that Einstein said. And so I tell them, don't listen to Chanaka Rabel. Chanaka Rabel is, full of BS, right? But listen to Einstein, right? So if Einstein says that, it can't be incorrect, right? So I tell students that. Right. So remember these questions are really important, right? So they don't have to be testing students' advanced knowledge, right? So here the idea is to test their basic knowledge to ensure they have understood the fundamentals properly, right? So once they have understood this, then you can help them, further consolidate their knowledge, right? So you will understand all those when you watch this video, right? So that's the idea here, for them to be able to understand the fundamentals, right? Okay, so those are your basic 6 steps, right? So if you follow these 6 steps, you will become an expert in flipped classroom, right? So also notice I am using flipped classroom to teach you flipped classroom. Okay, so I hope that works, right? Right, so that is all, guys, for this overview video. Now please go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So if you can go through all these steps before we meet on Friday, whatever question that comes to your head, right, you can ask them from me and clarify, right? So that is the idea of the flip classroom. Flip, upside down, right? So you do your work prior to the lecture, and then you clarify them from me on Thursday, on rather Friday, when we meet, right? So that is the whole idea. So please try your best to go through all these 3 steps. I'm giving you 3 days. Today is Tuesday night. I'm trying to send this off to you by tomorrow morning, right? So the idea is you have 48 hours to work on this before we meet on Friday. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you live on Friday.